that gives me comfort, you guys, is while I'm sitting at home, staring at the ceiling, just wishing that I had someone to talk to, is knowing that none of you idiots realize how lucky you are. Stuck in my head, only feel safe in my bed, but the anxiety is killing me.
Today's recipe is featuring farm-to-table vegetables, which I have here. And I know you may be thinking, farm-to-table is a really upscale, bougie term that a lot of people go nuts for. But think about it. Even though these vegetables are frozen, they were once at a farm, and now they're at my table.
The thing that gives me comfort, you guys, is while I'm sitting at home, staring at the ceiling, just...
All right, welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be making ranch stuffed chicken. The chicken is going to be stuffed with a mixture of bacon and various seasonings and a little bit of cheese. And then I'm going to put that chicken in the pan that I pre-roasted some bacon in. So all that bacon fat is going to act as a lubricant slash a please for the love of God don't stick to my pan agent. The veggies will be added to the same pan to cook in the bacon fat and whatever renders out of the chicken. And then we make an awesome fresh cheese sauce with a mixture of cheddar and Colby Jack. And I'm also going to be using ranch seasoning. So a little more on that in a bit. First thing I want to do is create the bed of vegetables. So what I have here is just some measurement baking sheet, cookie sheet, whatever. It's got a high wall. And I'm just pouring whatever frozen veggies I had. So I had some mixed veg, had some green beans, and some cauliflower, which I love. It's really going to absorb a lot of these flavors and also just kind of make the side portion of the meal a little meatier, a little more filling. So just kind of give that a little quick stir with a fork. You're not really mixing it much, but you're trying to spread it around. And what you're also doing is in your pan, creating 2 pockets that'll be roughly the size of your chicken breasts. So that way they're not just sitting there on top of veggies, but yet they're nestled in them. All right, so now that's done, you're taking your chicken, and because we're gonna be touching a whole lot of different things, I am busting out the old faithful gloves again. They're becoming quite necessary on this channel. I think I need to buy more gloves. There's a dog licking my foot. Excuse me, sir. So you take out your chicken breasts, preferably whole. If you can't get them skinless, boneless, that definitely saves you a step. That's what I did. And first thing you want to do is take a little knife and, wow, that came off easily. Trim off all the fat. I don't know if anyone remembers from my last video where I cooked, not the baking video, but the one before it, where I was trimming off a lot of fat. And for me, it's just a big textural thing. Some people like it. I just don't. So I trim off as much fat as possible. The dog is now licking the garbage. Bentley, stop! I feed you. It's not like you're starving. Why are you licking the garbage? You should have better taste than that living with me. Well, at least, unless my cooking's garbage. Anyway, so I'm going to just kind of cut some pockets into it. You're going to want to be real careful with your knife. You know, same lesson, different video. You are wanting to keep your fingers intact. So, cut some pockets in there. Almost looks like a chicken taco shell. I think Taco Bell did something like that a while back. Please don't sue me, Taco Bell. I'm not stealing your idea. I was just using that for a frame of reference for what anyone who may be attempting this recipe is looking for. So you're not going as deep as if you were to butterfly it where you'd be laying it out, because what we're going to do is close it back up. So now you take your trimmed chicken, put it into your pan on those little spots that you created for the chicken. Knife is no longer needed, neither is the cutting board, so let's put those in the sink for now. Everything's raw, my hands are raw, that's fine. It's all gonna get added to this. So, I've got bacon that I pre-cooked, chopped up, roughly crumpled, whatever. It's 4 strips of bacon. And then I'm just gonna add some seasonings to that. So I've got some salt, half a packet of ranch seasoning. Now it's important to save the other half. That's gonna come into play later when we bust out our fanciness that is the cheese sauce. Black pepper, garlic powder, smoked paprika, both for the taste and the color. And then just a little bit of ground mustard. A little bit of ground mustard goes a really long way. It kicks your flavors up a bit. And it also, I mean, it does taste good. I'm not a huge mustard fan, just as far as putting it on sandwiches or whatever, or as a random condiment. But within certain recipes, mustard is necessary. So, now that that's all in there, you're gonna take your bacon mixture, most of it, and spread it between those 2 chickens. Once you've got most of it in there, you're gonna take a glove off, because now you're handling cheese that is not gonna get fully cooked later. This cheese is gonna be also used in our cheese sauce later on. So, you know, you don't want to get raw chicken in that and then just melt your cheese. You will end up with some undercooked chickenness in your cheese sauce. So, with your gloved hand, if you have one, if not, you can use both, which makes this a lot easier. You're just going to kind of tuck and fold so all that stuff, all that cheese, the seasoning, the bacon, or the majority of it, because some of it's being really stubborn, but most of it stays inside the chicken. Now you will get some melting out when you cook. That's fine. Honestly, it's all gonna end up mixing into the vegetables anyway. So now you're gonna take the rest of your bacony mixture and put it on top. It seasons the chicken due to the bacon and the seasonings that are mixed into the bacon. So take that, rub it in, but also B, that bacon is gonna still continue to cook more. It's gonna render down, and some of that delicious, delicious bacon fat is gonna help season them veggies later. Next thing we wanna do, so you've got your veggies laid out. You got your chicken stuffed with the bacon seasoning mixture and your shredded cheese. You've got it topped with the same. You just wanna grab some table salt and some fresh cracked pepper and just kinda hit the whole thing with it. Make sure you just kind of do a gentle, slow pass over every inch of it, just to ensure that there is seasoning everywhere. The other thing, salt. That looks good. I'm not a huge fan of super salty food, so one thing I will never really do is over salt my food. Last step. This is beef tallow butter that I had made. I was not recording when I made it, which was dumb, but I'm putting 3 dollops of that on here. And when I do a future video that features the beef tallow butter as a finishing butter, you will see how I won't be making more, but I will go into detail on how I made it and provide the recipe. It's simple, it's just time consuming. So our oven is preheated to 350 degrees. This is gonna go in for about an hour, being a stuffed chicken product, but what I will do is in a half hour, I'm gonna make my cheese sauce to go on top, so I'll see you guys then.
The thing that gives me comfort, you guys, is while I'm sitting at home, staring at the ceiling, just...
All right, so 30 minutes have lapsed, chicken's still in the oven, I checked on it, it's definitely raw. Now what we're gonna do is work on our cheese sauce. While this is a keto recipe, you'll see, I'll explain to you when I get to the ingredient, but first thing we're gonna do is start off with 2 tablespoons of butter. One of the few times I measure is when I'm starting to do stuff like this. So, gonna let those 2 tablespoons of butter melt down, got the stove at a medium-high heat. And the next ingredient, once this is melted to make the roux, is gonna be 2 tablespoons of flour. Flour is obviously not keto, however, the roux just doesn't come out right with a almond flour or coconut flour. And to be completely honest, 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour is not gonna break the diet. So I consider it an acceptable thing. Another thing we're gonna be making, or adding rather, is milk. Now, milk itself is naturally higher in sugar than heavy cream. So what I did is I actually have in a measuring cup 1 cup of milk, heavy cream rather, and 1 cup of water. Mixed together, it has the same effect in a recipe as milk would, but without the added sugars. You could add sugar alcohol to it, about 2 teaspoons if you want to replicate the milk flavor more, but I don't need sweetness in my cheese sauce, I just need that consistency. I did this on just straight heavy cream, and I mean, it was like trying to stir tar. It just got way too thick, and I had to add water to cut into it anyway. So butter's pretty much melted. Gonna add all of our flour, all 2 tablespoons, because it's a even ratio. Then you just want to mix it. So you want to take your whisk and just get in there, get the butter and flour incorporated, and you want to go quickly with the motion. You want to mix it as fast as you can because it browns quickly. You want the flour to cook with the milk to make that, or with the butter to make that roux, but you don't want it to burn. This whisk just isn't cutting it. I do love my tiny whisk, but it's just a little too small. So you're going to take a better whisk and just slowly stream in the milk while keeping it mixed. You're going to notice it gets a bit of, I guess, like a grits or cream of wheat consistency. You can turn the heat down at that point. I spilled a little bit of milk on the stove. As per my normal videos, there is always a mess. And when you do add your cheese later, if it's still too thick, just add more water, especially because you're whisking. Milk will eventually thicken it, so will heavy cream. Water helps keep more of that saucy consistency. Now that it's really incorporated, you can add the rest of your milk mixture. Give it another good whisk. Now for the seasonings. Got a bunch of salt here. That was actually too much, so let me just yeet the rest into the abyss. Give that a quick stir. Gonna add some fresh cracked black pepper for some flavor and some heat. Spices, never measured. And then what might be the weirdest thing in this cheese sauce, something you have not seen on other cheese sauces, the other half of that ranch seasoning packet. And you're gonna stir that in. Bring it up to medium heat now, and what you want to do is just get a nice simmer off of this mixture. Once it starts simmering, then we can add our cheese. Stay. Motherfucker. Stay. All right. So it's not quite simmering yet, but I'm impatient. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our Colby Jack and our cheddar blend. I fresh grated it myself before, so I do like to use fresh grated cheese. If you use the stuff that comes in a bag, it's got this starchy powder over it, and it doesn't quite melt right. It makes it just... It's another ingredient that you don't need when making cheese sauce. Did not really measure my cheese. I just grated till my heart's content. But yeah. So you're just going to add a little bit of that at a time. Start stirring. And then once it starts melting, you could add more of it. If once it's fully melted, you realize you need a little more, that's fine. You could always grate some more. If you have a bag of cheese, just dump it in there. Again, you don't have to grate your own cheese. It just makes it easier. All right, that's getting nice and incorporated. So let's get the rest in. Downside to grating your own cheese, if you're going to store it in a glass bowl like I did, it sticks to it because it doesn't have that starchy powder on the outside. But you know what? I don't mind rubbing a little bit of cheese off the walls of something if it means I could, get a better melt, better consistency, better sauce. Now, this isn't going to be as radioactive yellow as some other cheese sauces have been, and that's also part to the ranch powder that gets put in there. So it's almost more of like a cheddar Alfredo in looks. Something that I don't know if that exists. It might not. Who knows? It's going to be hot as hell, but you do need to taste it this phase. You got to see if you need more salt, if you need to put in other things because you made it too salty. So it's a little too salty, so what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to grab a glass. I'm going to just eyeball this, so I'm going to add some water, which will loosen it up a little, but also help disperse the existing flavor. And behind the scenes at my fridge, I'm getting a bit more heavy cream. While it doesn't have the same sweetness content as, say, milk does, it still has some, and that's going to help go against the saltiness that I imparted. I guess what I'm saying is at this point, maybe watch how much salt you put in at the beginning, because, I forgot that the ranch seasoning also was a salted seasoning. It's nice and stirred. That's honestly a really nice consistency right now. I'm making a huge mess. Gonna give it another quick taste. Still coats the spoon so it's not too liquidy. That is perfect. I'm just gonna drop it down to a low heat and let it go until it's time to take the chicken out. I will see you guys when it is time for plating.
The thing that gives me comfort, you guys, is while I'm sitting at home, staring at the ceiling, just...
All right, and we're back. The chicken and veggies came out of the oven. The cheese sauce is done, so I'm just gonna ladle some of that on there. Fuck it, put the cheese sauce on everything. The veggies, the chicken. It is all good. So if anybody tries this recipe out, please let me know. I kind of winged the cheese sauce today for the first time. I think it tastes good. I want to know what you think. So awesome. Enjoy.